All right, today we're going to be talking about the invisible man crisis, what that means, why it matters, and what to do if you feel like that is speaking to you. And so, what does invisible mean? It essentially means you don't feel seen or heard by society, right? You feel like a ghost, you feel alienated, you feel like no one cares about you. And you're essentially ignored by women, treated poorly by employers or prospective employers. Say on LinkedIn, when you apply to 1,000 jobs and you get 0 to 5 interviews, right? And especially ignored or even blamed by the media, right? I don't know if you've seen some of the things about the Ukraine war, and basically the headline is millions of Ukrainian men die, women most affected, right? And so it's usually men who are to blame for everything, and women get a free pass. So a lack of attention unless you are successful or useful. So I don't know if you ever experienced this, but let's say you won the lottery, you won a little bit of money, maybe you gained some status or influence or power in some capacity. What happens, right? People around you start to treat you nicer. They start to give you more attention. They start to ask for things from you. And so in a large capacity, men are ignored and treated poorly unless they are successful or useful. And so modern masculinity is only noticed if it's failing. If it fails, if it is not as prevalent, right? Because men are expected to work until they die, pay all the bills, provide everything, protect, right? And shut up and don't talk about their pain or struggle. And so there's a quote very common among especially women 40 plus, and they ask, where have all the good men gone, right? And they're somewhat talking about this, but in reverse, right? And so the symptoms of feeling invisible are you don't get any compliments. So no one says anything nice about you. They might even treat you like trash or just ignore you and not even make eye contact with you. There's a statistic going around on the internet where 1 in 3 men under 30 have not had sex in the past year. Okay, that is a self-reported statistic. So it could be higher, And so low social validation is another symptom of feeling invisible. So generally with hierarchies, especially male in a male setting, it's basically like a pyramid, right? The guys at the top get all the attention, all the money, all the power. The dudes at the bottom get nothing or very little. And so low social validation is what you will experience. So another very interesting topic to talk about is online dating statistics. So if you've looked at anything that Tinder or Bumble has put out, any of the statistics around swiping and preferences, it basically shows that 10% of guys, the top 10% of guys, get 90% of the attention, right, from women. Women get hundreds of matches instantly, and men, if you do pay for Tinder Premium because you want to see your 3 likes, right, and you can't see and you're really curious, what you're going to find is that most likely they're 300-pound whales, and you wasted your money. And so men also deal with the most dangerous jobs with little or really no recognition. There have been interviews that I've heard where men ask women, like, hey, what do you think about that guy over there, right? And they're on the street, and they're looking and they're like, who? Like, I don't see, who are you talking about, right? And he's pointing to a trash man, right? Or a mailman, and she's like, and the girls are like, who? Like, the guy behind the mailman or the trash guy? It's like, they don't even see. They don't even, you're not even registering to them as human beings almost. It's like you're just an object if you're low status. And so why is this happening? What happens Why do men feel invisible, left out, and ignored? Well, when you feel invisible, essentially you get no positive reinforcement, no dopamine, no serotonin, none of those feel-good hormones. And so if you don't feel like any work or you don't get any positive feedback, you will withdraw, right? You'll just withdraw from society. No, I'm not going to go to school. No, I'm not going to look for a job. I'm just going to stay home and fall into escapism, right? Which is alcohol, drugs, marijuana, porn, video games. Those are really the trifecta of escapism for men, where at least in video games you feel like, hey, I can work towards something. Hey, I might have status if I grind hard enough for whatever that item might be, okay? And then past that, you simply just get a negative feedback loop. So you fall into escapism, you try even less, you feel more invisible, you withdraw more. And it's very, very dangerous. I felt like this for a little while when I was unemployed. One of my businesses failed, and I started to feel like in this loop where I'd stay up till 6 a.m. hitting my, off-brand vape from Tobacco Hut, sitting on my phone literally until I saw the sun come out, and play video games and be like, nope, got nothing going on, I feel terrible, life sucks, right? So the harsh stats are male suicide rates are 3.9 times higher than the female suicide rate, which just shows that men feel all of this pressure, they go through this negative feedback loop, and no one cares. Very, very few people will care. That's why if you've ever opened up to people and they say, hey man, how you doing? And you're like, not good, like lost my job, lost this, don't have shit. And what's people's response? 90% of the time it's, ooh, yeah, you should have kept that to yourself. And they just fuck off and go to talk to someone else, right? That's the case most of the time, except maybe for your mother, your close family, your very, very close friends. And so with men who go through all this and they don't have they feel lost and trapped, this rate is much higher, okay? So college enrollment, 60% of it is now female, 40% is male. It used to be flipped, much more higher rates of college enrollment for men and graduation. Now it is 60-40, and that gap is only widening. Could be 70-30, 80-20 in the future because of feminism and female empowerment, right? And then men get to suck it up and go outside and figure it out, right? And so there are over 7 million men ages 25 to 54, so prime working ages, right? Your earning capacity tends to peak 40 to 50, but they're not working or looking for work. So they've completely checked out. Nope, I'm not going to look for a job. Nope, I am not going to work on my career. I am just going to live in a tent down by the river, right? And everyone else can do their own thing. So another sad statistic is that the marriage rate has been dropping since 1970. It's really been dropping since the 20s, actually, where by, I believe, 25 to 30, 70 to 80% of men were married in the 20s. It's just literally cratered since then. It's now sub 40% by the age of 30 for males in the U.S. are married. And that statistic is only going down because of no-fault divorce, feminism, suppression of males, and toxic masculinity. And so men are disincentivized to engage in marriage, okay? So 40% of men feel completely alone is another very sad statistic, which just shows that a lot of men are ignored and society doesn't care about them. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. So on my phone, essentially there is a way to break out from all of this, and it starts with self-improvement, right? It starts with essentially realizing, like, yeah, I'm not doing too good here. I feel invisible, I'm withdrawing, I'm falling into escapism. porn, video games, drugs, right? What do I do about this? If I'm going to continue this in 5 to 10 years, I'm just going to be older and worse off. And so self-improvement is what you should chase over validation seeking. So instead of DMing girls on Instagram and all this other bullshit, you should be hitting the gym, studying, learning a skill, starting a business, developing your career, applying for jobs, taking better care of yourself. And anything really, it can be very small, right? Just get in the gym for a few minutes, apply to one job on LinkedIn a day. You start small and you build this kind of momentum and habit of focusing on, hey, I realize I'm not doing so good, I'm going to improve myself. That's really the only answer. The other answer, which is not really an answer, is just live in obscurity and escapism. So you have to build value in silence. Now, I don't publicize this on my channel, but I've had a couple of fairly successful businesses in the past, and I was very loud about them. I'd post them on my public social media. I would talk about them a lot and very openly, and that would actually hurt me because people who I thought were my friends ended up wanting to stab me in the back. So you build value in silence. That's also a way of like focusing your efforts so that you're not kind of like showboating all this stuff. You actually sit your nose to the grindstone, right, and build something of value. And so pursuing brotherhood and purpose is another big one. So me, I am a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, right? I train a lot of martial arts. I have a lot of friends at my weightlifting gyms. So I have a community, right, a brotherhood, and something to look forward to, whether it's getting promoted to black belt or seeing my friends at the gym or getting stronger, hitting a higher PR. And so that's very important. Without community, you're going to feel like you're all on your own. It's very easy to just stay home and not engage in these activities if you feel like, you know, there's no one else to kind of help you out. So gym, skill building, and purpose is what you should replace escapism with, and that's very painful. So I had a friend who hadn't seen me in a while, saw me in a t-shirt, and I've put on 20 or 30 pounds of muscle since I really saw him, and he was like, wow, that's awesome, like it's New Year's, like I want to get big like you, I want to get stronger, what do I do? It's like, well, start going to the gym, start taking care of yourself, clean your diet up. And he was like, well, yeah, I want to do that, but I remember one time I worked out and my muscles, I felt muscle soreness, and I never want to feel that pain again. And I was like, wait a second, so you want the rewards, but you're deathly afraid of what it costs to get them. So that doesn't add up, and you're never going to get anywhere, right? I didn't tell him that, but the unfortunate reality is that breaking out of this cycle and escapism, it's very painful. So that's a topic for a whole nother video, but I hope this helped. If it did, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.